So is it true that we actually do need to move more? Is it true that we are sedentary and this is what is responsible for being extremely overweight and having cardiovascular issues, more susceptible to disease, things like that? Well, while it is true, the sedentary effect on our health is not as drastic as the mainstream fitness industry or mainstream, health industry makes you believe. All right. I just started reading this book called Exercised, and the author is Daniel Lieberman. And it kind of goes into the history of exercise, where it began, how it started, why it started. And in the beginning of this book, he's explaining how anthropologists studied current hunter-gatherer tribes, indigenous African tribes, one of them being the Hadza, that anthropologists love to study because they more closely resemble, how we evolved as hunter-gatherers. It's very interesting because they noticed that Western culture or modern society isn't, lazy. Humans are lazy. And a friend of mine, Drew Bay, actually mentioned as I was speaking to him about this, he said, Arthur Jones used to say, humans are naturally lazy overeaters. So they kind of compared the activity level to hunter and gatherers versus, Western society, and they're relatively similar in many, many cases. Obviously, I'll get into how they're similar. But, these indigenous tribes, they don't move as much as we would like to believe. They actually sit around and rest a lot. They only really move when it's necessary. So they described, on their average work day is about 7 hours, similar to ours. But a lot of the women in these, hunter-gatherer tribes are generally doing low-intensity kind of work with their hands, such as, picking berries, picking roots or sprouts for food, making clothing, caring for children, and they're doing most of this sitting down. That's not unlike us. It's quite similar. The men on hunting days, they hunt, as what he described, at a very low intensity pace and really only maximally exert themselves at very, very brief periods. And they don't hunt every single day. So we're under the impression that, our ancient ancestors walked miles and miles. Granted, the Hadza do walk a lot more than, most sedentary individuals. But their overall energy expenditure is not that much greater than ours. So, the physical activity level, the PAL. They measured the Hadza's PAL at about, 1.8, while Western culture is about 1.6. So their physical activity level is not that much higher, but they're much thinner. Why? So this is what we're getting into. Why, we're always blaming, we're sedentary and we need to move more, we need to exercise more, and that's why we're so fat. Well, not really. Okay, we're actually, the Hadza culture and a lot of these hunter-gatherer cultures do not move unless they have to. And apparently, according to this book, they were dumbfounded when they were told that people run and move their body for the sake of the health benefits. They couldn't believe it. People run? Why? So we are now a culture that exercises more than any culture ever in the history of humans, and we're still the fattest. Do you see what I'm getting to here? I'm getting to one thing. We eat too damn much. Your problem if you're overweight, it's not that you work a sedentary job. Okay, because a lot of the women in the Hadza tribe are relatively sedentary, just doing things with their hands. And they compared the physical activity level of, the hunters, I believe, to the physical activity level of like a factory worker. It's not that much different. We've got plenty of people doing somewhat physical jobs, construction workers, think about like mail carriers, Amazon delivery drivers, DoorDash drivers. They're about as physically active as most of the people in, hunter-gatherer communities, but they're still fat. So what's the problem? The problem is food consumption. It's calorie consumption. You're not overweight because you move too little. You're not overweight because of all the time-saving technologies in the sedentary job. You're overweight because you eat too damn much. What's the difference between us and these hunter-gatherer communities? They don't have a McDonald's within walking distance. They have, relatively low-calorie foods. They don't have access to thousands and thousands of calories at the drop of a hat. We do. And I've been peddling this concept for almost a decade now, that physical activity is an extremely poor way to lose weight and lose fat, that you need to restrict your calories. And that the reason most of modern culture, Western culture, whatever, is overweight is not because they don't exercise enough, it's because they eat too damn much. Okay? So when people try to, pick up activities and sports and recreation and walking and running and biking and swimming for the sake of losing fat, this is why it doesn't work. Because it's not the activity level, it's the calorie intake. This is why the program, the training approach that I promote in my Golden Era System, goldenerasystem.com, it's a specific activity for the sake of getting the health benefits out of exercise through building muscle, bone and connective tissue strength, metabolic cardiovascular efficiency, and it's done in a very efficient way because it's evident that physical activity or lack thereof is not the problem, it is the calorie consumption. So my approach to exercise, of course, makes sense based on scientific evidence, physiological evidence, but also anthropology evidence. Not sure what that word actually is. Because we're not that active of a species anyway. We should go in there, stimulate our muscles very intensely, kind of like the hunters would. When are they using they're only using their body very intensely a couple times a week for very short periods of time, just like I recommend in Golden Era System and high intensity training. Then they rest quite a bit. And the reason they're in such good shape is because they do not consume thousands and thousands of calories every single day. So that's why people are fat. And that is why, if you are overweight, calorie restriction needs to be your primary focus. The secondary focus needs to be building metabolically active tissue, aka muscle, which will also increase your physical capacity, cardiovascular fitness, bone and connective tissue strength. All those things that increase health and fitness come through the muscle. So you want to work the muscle very hard, and strength training is the way to do it. Combine that with a calorie-restricted diet, and you can be like the dozens of clients, hundreds at this point, that have lost tons and tons of fat with only 2 workouts a week by watching their calories. They transformed their body and they kept it that way. because a good fat loss approach, a good body transforming approach is actually sustainable when you do it correctly. All right? This is how it's done. This is the effective way to do it. Don't go outside and run in circles, swim laps, get on the stationary bike for hours a day. It doesn't work well. Does it work? Kinda, but it's a friggin' waste of your time. Strength train appropriately, learn how to eat properly, and you will lose all that fat easily and sustainably. And if you want help doing this, I will coach you. Okay, I've coached tons of people and showed them how to apply these principles in a way where it becomes habitual, in a way where it doesn't turn your life upside down, in a way that it's not even hard, so that way you can do it forever and remain in good shape, in healthy shape. All right, there's a link in the description if you want me to coach you through this. I highly suggest you do, so that way you don't waste so much damn time going to the gym 5-6 days a week and seeing nothing. Let me show you how to do it. All right, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell notification icon so you'll be notified when I give you more information on how to exercise properly in a way that you can sustain, and how to get the best results the fastest way possible.